everybody, and welcome to the Healthcare Tech Talk, Lunch Talk. I'm Dr. Nadia Butawi, and today I am so excited to have a very special guest and a friend to share with you what public speaking and how it can make you more confident in raising money for your business. We will share tips, and that will allow you to deliver a convincing presentation with confidence, getting you closer to securing funding for your business or startups. Stay tuned and leave questions in the comment. But before we start, we'd love to know if you are connecting with us live or watching the recorded session later. So you can put it live or record it in the comment. We'd also love to know if you are connecting here from the US, which state, or from across the globe, which country. I'm always very excited to see where people are connected from. And I'm sure Maria is too.
I am very excited.
Yeah, welcome, Maria. So let me introduce you to Maria. Maria Malik is a public speaking coach. She helps introverts overcome their fear of public speaking and give presentations that can make the audience listen. Maria helped, last time I checked, over hundreds of professionals to date. And I am one of the lucky ones who got to work closely with Maria. And I can tell you firsthand, I experienced the transformation in my public speaking. Welcome to the show, Maria.
Thank you so much for having me, Nadia. I'm very excited that we got to do this together. I've been looking forward to it. And I know that together with your expertise and everything that I have to offer, this live is going to be very, very valuable, especially for women who need help speaking up, who need to really get out there with their business. And we're going to talk a lot about this, but you guys are going to see how important it is for women entrepreneurs, business owners to be able to speak and be heard. So thank you so much, Nadia. Very excited. And I can see we have people from all over the world here. So we are very
Awesome.
excited to get started. So Nadia, let's
I am
go.
excited too. So yeah, in your own words, can you introduce yourself to our audience?
Yes, absolutely. Well, you summed it up really well, Nadia. I do help corporate professionals, especially introverts, overcome their fear of public speaking. I help them give it better presentations, and I help them really get their audience to listen to them because first of all, public speaking is hard. On top of that, if
Mhm.
your audience is bored, then it's like, why did I put myself through this in the first place when nobody cares? So, what I help you
Exactly.
with is make sure that you enjoy giving the presentation or talk, as well as your
Mhm.
audience as well. I've been doing this for a couple of years now, and I
Mhm.
absolutely love it. There's something so cool about seeing someone that's very shy and quiet, and then they learn the techniques, they learn the skills, and then they
Exactly.
transform into this confident speaker. I love watching that transformation. And if I can help people along the way, then I'm doing my job well.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, as I mentioned to the audience, I know how important to match your expertise, your experience that you spent years getting. And then if you are missing the chance to showcase that by being confident, by being convincing, by showing up as an authority in your field, you're missing out a lot. And I've experienced it myself, especially for women. Having that confidence to deliver your message with authority is so important, especially in business. So that takes me to just to give our audience, like, I love storytelling. So we're going to take you through a journey and then give you tips along the way. So stay tuned because by the end, you will have some tips that you can use and apply directly to your either presentation, whether it's for a pitch, that's what we refer to as when you are trying to convince somebody to give you money in return for something else, or it could be for your next promotion or what have you. But we're going to focus on the business and pitching for raising money for your business. So that takes me to a couple of things that, as a business owner or a startup leader, you will need to raise money at some point during your
Mhm.
growth. And there are a
Absolutely.
couple of ways you can raise money. There is something called, the first one is called non-dilutive financing, meaning that you don't give you don't get to give a portion of your company or equity in return for funding. So that's typically through grants, either from not-for-profit organization. For instance, if your product is in cancer research, you can go to Cancer Society and they can give you money to do your research or development. It could be from small business innovation research or other government grants. The cool thing with the non-dilutive that you keep all the equity in your company. The second one, and that's the most common one, is what's called dilutive financing. That means think Shark Tank. You give they give you some money and you give them certain percentage in return, equity in your company. The first one, it's called bootstrapping, when you kind of pull stuff together from friends, family, and fools. Fools are the ones that are, you know, crazy enough to believe in you. Those first adopters that believe that you can make it, and they invest very, very early on. The second is angel investors, then venture capitalists. However, regardless what type of funding you are after, as a CEO, you need to present your pitch in front of an audience. Would that be investors, judges, if you are competing for money through a business competition? And for that, as Maria mentioned, for women especially, it's so important to show up as confident as an authority in your field. Because unfortunately, as of today, less than 5% of venture capital funding goes to women founder businesses. So mastering that public speaking can help you move that percentage a little bit up. However, women also need access to mentor, to supportive communities, and that's why, in addition to helping, uh, women and businesses move their technologies to the market, I also created a community for women to thrive in healthcare tech businesses.
I'm so glad that you did that, by the way, Nadia, because I think there's
Thank,
nothing else like that out there.
thank
So
you.
I know there are women that need that help, and for you to have created something where everyone can join, like I'm so proud of you for doing that.
Thank you. Actually, today I created a group on LinkedIn called
Oh,
Women Entrepreneurs in Healthcare Tech. So if you are in the field, feel free to join. We'll have tailored content that can help you along the way. So a couple
awesome.
things we wanted to tap into in today's live. There are two components to the raising money. There is what's called the pitch deck, which is the presentation itself, your slides. And the second half is the presentation itself, the pitch. Investors, they look for a few things in the pitch, and that really tied really well with public speaking. You want to make your pitch deck or slides telling a story that is compelling, that is credible, and concise. And you also need to grab the attention of your investors or audience in the first slide and keep them hooked through your story as you describe your product, describe your opportunity, and why your team is the stellar team that can make it happen. So, Maria, I can go over what's needed for the pitch deck, but before we get into that, what do you think? What do you recommend the speaker should take into account before they dive into their slides?
Absolutely. I think one thing that a lot of people miss out on when they're doing presentations, when they're getting up in front of their audience, they think that it's all about their presentation, their slides, and they forget that they are the ones that people are there to see, right? And you have to build that credibility, that trust in the beginning with your audience. So a
Yep.
lot of people, what they don't do is they don't introduce themselves. And I don't just mean introduce yourself, tell them your name,
Mhm.
tell them what you do. You want to go
Yep.
in a little bit deeper, why you're doing what you're doing, what they can expect from today's presentation, and how they will be able to take away something from this presentation.
Mhm.
So I think the introduction is very, very important. And this is the time that you need to build that trust with your audience, because
Yeah.
if your audience doesn't trust you, they're not going to want to
Mhm.
listen to the presentation, right? So in
Exactly.
the beginning, take out that extra little bit of time and build that trust. And you're going to do that by telling them who you are, why you're doing this, and why they should listen to you in the first place.
That's awesome. Yeah, because that connection and that early engagement, when you tap into something they can relate to, they're going to listen to you. Because people, and I believe that can be through like a personal story that some or part of the audience can relate to. Vulnerability is another one that in the business world we think that oh, being vulnerable is a negative. But sometimes knowing that it's okay to be vulnerable, even when you're trying to convince some other people to invest in you and your company, could be a way to go to connect with others.
Yes.
So yeah, so typically an investor committee or investors, they would express certain things in your presentation. Generally, it's 10 to 15 slides tops. So don't make it into 30 or 40 slides. Anything
Mm-hmm.
that's in the appendix that can support your presentation can be later. If they ask question, you can bring it up, but don't make it too long. So it
Exactly.
will include, yeah, the title, again, your company, your logo, and then a tagline. What do you do in like very short sentence? What the problem you're trying to solve and what's your solution? And why is the solution not out there yet? If you have any traction whatsoever, whether it's product market fit, whether it's customer interviews, revenue growth, how many people subscribe to your app or service, that shows that you have something concrete that they can measure and see how track over time. You also need to tell them how big the market is, which is the total available market, not only now but in the future, because a lot of pitch decks they would say hey, the market size is and so in the billions, but you will also need to know that this trend or this need for the problem you're solving is growing in the future, which is a proxy to growth of your own company. A third one that a lot of especially in early on they may think oh there is no competition. There's always competition. So you need to identify who they are, direct and indirect, as well as show why you are better than them. 10x. What's your vision for your company? How big could it be? Because that's what's enticing for investors, especially VCs, venture capitalists. And why you are the awesome team to make this happen. Another thing, a technical thing they would look for is how much money you're asked, how much money you need now. And based on your vision down the line, a few years down the line, what would the company look like and how much money you will require then? So that kind of sums up the pitch deck, what to expect. Maria, we mentioned the connecting with your audience. Is there other ways to that you can not only the initial trust factor, but how do you keep engagement going throughout?
Great question. And Nadia, I'm glad you mentioned that because I think something that's very important to do, even while you're in the middle of your presentation, is kind of stop and check in with your audience. And we should be doing that as well,
Mhm.
right? We have so many people messaging us, say hi to people. Like we have Kamara right now saying hi, Ankit saying
Yeah.
hi. We have Farouk from Pakistan. We have so many people here from, I think we have someone, Neil, here from Palm Beach, Florida, right?
Mm-hmm.
People like it when you acknowledge them, especially when someone's taking out
Yes.
time to type out something. They like
Mm-hmm.
it when you acknowledge them. Just like in a presentation, you want to do the same thing. You want to go ahead
Absolutely.
and stop for a minute, check in with your audience. Tell them, is
Mm-hmm.
everything making sense so far, right? Ask them these questions and give them some time to respond. Or you can even ask them something like, is there anything else that you guys are looking forward to or something that we haven't covered yet that you're looking forward to? So check in with your audience because you know what? You can talk the whole time, but how do you
Yeah,
know if you're doing well or not? Your audience is going to tell you. And if you listen to
exactly.
your audience, you can give them exactly what they want and they
What
will
they want.
appreciate you more that way. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a
That's
big one.
that's a great
Go
tip,
out.
like the and
Mhm.
engage with your audience. And even without the non-verbal engagement, if you are live, whether in Zoom or in person, you're gonna see whether they're engaged. Are they checking their phones? Are they, slouching in their chair and so on? And that gives you some cues that you may need to kind of change your tone or go back to something that will bring them back into your presentation, especially
Exactly. Your
if it's
audience will tell you. Yeah, you can tell when you look at people, you'll know, oh my God, they're bored. Or if someone's like on their phone, you know that they're not interested anymore, right? And it's
exactly.
our job. You can't blame the audience. We have so many distractions now, right? So it's
It is
our
true.
job as speakers to make sure that the presentation is, I don't want to say entertaining, but the presentation is interesting enough that they would want to pay attention. And it's small tweaks, small little things,
It
right?
is,
Human nature
yeah.
is so simple. I know people
Hmm.
think it's very dynamic and very crazy, but once you understand human nature and the human psychology, it's very, very simple. People just want to feel like they're a part of something. If they're listening to you, they want to make sure that you are hearing them and seeing them as well. So you just got to give back the same energy.
Exactly, yeah. So that brings, how would you, let's say if your audience is, you see signs that they're starting to get disengaged, what would you recommend for the speakers to use, tips to bring them back to the, besides,
Yes.
interacting with them and so on?
Yes, great question. So, if you feel like your audience is bored, you're looking at them and your audience is just kind of getting, kind of slouchy, they're slouching down, or they're
Yeah.
just like looking down, or something else, right? They could just be like sitting there like this. This is a sign of boredom. If I'm sitting here like this, where I'm just like,
Hmm.
this is bored body language, right?
Yeah.
Versus me sitting up and I'm like honing in,
Awesome.
that means, okay, I'm interested. So, if you're seeing that your audience is very bored, what you need to start doing is change your patterns. Okay. And
Hmm.
this comes with everything that you do. Let's say you're monotone, right? Very hard to listen to someone that's
Yeah.
monotone, that has the same
Yeah.
tone all throughout. Eventually you're like, oh my God, I can't anymore, right? So
Hmm.
change up your tones. If you have a presentation deck, right? If it's right up there and you're seeing your audience is bored, okay, you know what, you guys, let's take a break from this and try something a little bit different, because I can tell you guys need a
Hmm.
little bit of a refresher here. So why don't we break up into groups, and I'm going to give you guys a little exercise to do, right? So now
Hmm.
people will be awake. They're like, okay, we're doing something different. So especially if
Hmm.
it's a long presentation, a 1 hour presentation, you have to get them to move, because it's human nature, right? If you're sitting
Hmm.
somewhere, you're just getting bored, you start getting sleepy. I feel that too, right?
Yeah.
So you have to get people to physically move, right?
Hmm.
Or you can hand them out something. If you're handing them out something, they're going to have to move their hand and grab it and look at it and read it and see what is this, right?
Yeah.
That's something you can do. So
Yeah,
break
that
those.
later one probably is more applicable to pitch decks because they have a very short amount of time, and typically you don't give an exercise to an investor to, but you can give them a handout or your executive summary that they can, go back to. So if they are lost for 30 seconds or so, they have something
Yes,
to re-anchor them to the
yes.
presentation.
Another way to break the pattern is maybe tell a story, right? So you
Exactly.
could be
Hmm.
talking about data, and I'm like, you know what? Let's take a break here for a second, because I want to tell you guys a story of one of my clients, or one woman entrepreneur that I really look up to, because A,
Hmm.
B, C, D. People love stories. If you want to wake up your audience, tell them a
Hmm.
good, compelling story.
Okay, so having those stories that can support your storyline along the way and that you can pull from to bring back the audience will be
Exactly.
interesting. Oh, that's great. That's a very good tip. Yeah. So let's say you have your deck, it's ready. There are certain, recommendations for deck in terms of sizes of the fonts, the balance between content slash visuals that are appealing. Sometimes if it's too dense, and a lot of business leaders, especially if they are from the technical side, they love their numbers and their graphs and so on. Sometimes less is more. So, what do you recommend in terms of how do you make it enough that it shows you as an authority, but not too detailed that you lose your audience?
So I love that you talked about this, because this is exactly what I like to teach my clients. So you have your introverts on one hand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very
Yep.
quiet, don't speak too much, and then on the other side you have your extroverts that enjoy speaking, and that's how they get their energy. The more they talk to others, the more
Yeah.
they interact with others, right?
Yeah.
So what you need to do is you need to meet in the middle, right? Because you don't want someone that's going to be talking too much and it's like, oh my God,
Mm-hmm.
please stop talking. And you don't want
Yeah.
someone that's completely quiet, that you're like, hello, are you
Yeah.
there? which by the way, I was that person for so long, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do you meet in the middle? If you are talking about something, always have a structure, okay? Have a
Yeah.
structure, and your structure should always be, no matter what you were talking about, you always have
Yeah.
your introduction. And your introduction doesn't necessarily mean you introducing yourself. Your
Yeah.
introduction could be the introduction on the topic or why you're talking about this. Then you get
Mm-hmm.
into your 3 points. The first reason why you're telling me this, the second reason I'm telling you this, and the third reason I'm telling you this. And lastly,
Mm-hmm.
your outro. Always focus on your outro. Remember,
Yeah.
it's just as important as your intro. So, for example, if you're answering a question, right? Okay, well, this is the question, and you can
Mm-hmm.
comment on the question a little bit. The first reason why I think this, the second reason why I think that, the third reason why I think that, and
Yeah.
then to summarize it and add in some, crucial points in the end and get into
Yeah.
your outro. So
And that
keep
could be
think
a
of
good
it in your
framework.
hand. Yeah, you're
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, I'm on my intro now. I'm on point one, point two, point three. Keep it to 3 points. Try not to go 10 points. You start to lose your audience.
Exactly. Yeah. And you can use that structure for the overall presentation and also in subsections. If you
Yeah,
are going to a new section, you introduce that section, then you go point one, two, three, summarize it, and move to the next section. And
yeah,
this way, if somebody zooms out, it would still have a takeaway from that particular section. And as they say, tell them why you're here, how you're going to do it, and then recap. This way, regardless where their attention span is, they have three chances to get the information you want to convey.
absolutely. And Nadia, there is a question here that I actually want to answer by Sana.
Mm-hmm.
So Sana Chaudhary, she's asking in one line, can you tell me how to be confident while talking to an audience online or physically, both? Okay. And I wanted to answer this because it's a very simple
Mm-hmm.
thing that you can do that will make you sound more confident. The
Sure.
first thing you want to do is make sure you're sitting up straight. Okay, because
Mm-hmm.
when you're slouched down, it affects the way that your voice comes out. And when you're
Yeah.
slouching down, you're telling your brain that, hey, we're tired, we're in relax mode. Then
Mm-hmm.
you're not as alert
Shoulder
anymore.
up. Yeah.
So shoulders back, spine
Mm-hmm.
completely straight, and your chin eye level, right? Don't have
Mm-hmm.
it up here, don't have it
Yeah.
down here. So once you do this, right, your voice is going to come out much more clear from your
Yeah.
diaphragm. And the other thing is you want to increase your volume slightly, especially
Yeah.
if you are a woman. Us women, we're a lot more soft spoken. And, this is like when I typically talk in a normal setting, I'm not this, like kind of loud.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a lot quieter because that's just how I speak. And
I'm
most women
totally that
think
way
that
too. Yeah.
way. Yeah,
And at times, the way, especially how it affects women, is that you may be conceived as less competent because you are at that
exactly.
lower voice range. When you add to that the cultural component in certain cultures, and we have people from all over the world here today with us, we are taught to kind of tone it down a little bit because
Hmm.
of that cultural pressure. And that inherently spills over as sounding less confident despite your
Hmm.
great accomplishments. So that's a great tip. Whatever your volume is, turn it up a little bit. Not don't
Turn it up.
scream, but yeah,
Turn it up.
exactly.
Just turn it up. People will listen then, and you will sound much more confident when you're speaking.
That's an awesome tip. And let's say you're ready to present and you're nervous. How could you any tips how to overcome that nervousness? I've experienced that firsthand myself. And the tips I learned from you through the program were awesome. So I'd love to share some of them with the audience here.
Absolutely. And here's the thing, being nervous is not necessarily a bad thing. It's good if you're
Mm-hmm.
nervous. It's good if you're
Yeah,
nervous because that means you care
yeah,
and it means
exactly.
that it's something that's
Mm-hmm.
important to you. And it also means that you're looking forward to it, even though you might feel like you're not. So, in order to kind of calm those nerves,
Yeah,
arrive early, right? So studies do tell us that your nerves settle after 10 minutes. It's the first
yeah,
10 minutes when you're like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do because it's new, right? We're programmed to be afraid of new things because we think there
yeah.
might be some danger. So if you come early, right? You
Mm-hmm.
start that 10 minutes early, arrive early, speak to people early, get to know a little
Yeah.
bit of your audience. That's going to start
Mm-hmm.
that 10-minute clock early. And by the time
Yeah.
you start your presentation, you're a lot more relaxed. And the great thing with that is now you know a few people from your audience as well.
That's
Okay.
true. Yeah, and it gives you that, to get familiar with the surrounding, whether it's online, whether it's in person. So you
Mm-hmm.
get that nervousness out. And even if you have to
Exactly.
practice anything to calm those nerves, it's still before you are in front of live, in front of the audience. So that's a great tip.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is awesome. So let's say you have your deck, you're ready to go, you've calmed your nervousness, you have a compelling story to tell, that is concise, that's compelling and precise. You go through your presentation, and at times people know if you're playing know it all. How do you handle questions that you don't know it, but you don't want to jeopardize your chances of getting, working with those great VCs or raising that money for your business? So,
Okay.
how would
So
you address questions that you are not sure about?
yeah, so people like honesty, right? Even if, first of all, if you're pitching to someone, you should
Hmm.
already anticipate what kind of questions will people ask me,
Exactly.
right?
Hmm.
Anytime I do a presentation, my last slide, first of all, I have a Q&A and I have
Yeah.
10 questions written down in case nobody asks me a question or in
Yeah.
case, or I know that, hey, these are some of the questions that have been asked in the past, so they might
Yeah.
come up, right? So you
Hmm.
are a little bit more prepared that way. But of course, there will be times that you're going to get that odd question where you're like, oh my gosh, I have no idea, right?
Yeah.
Take that as a learning opportunity. It's something that you need to go back later and make sure you know that answer because it's going to get asked again. The other thing
Hmm.
is the way that you handle it, right?
Yeah.
Don't pretend like you know the answer. It's very normal to say that's something we haven't really looked into deeply,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
if it's okay with you, can I get back to you with the proper information? Because I don't want to give you any misguided information, right?
That's
But the
great.
key
Yeah.
here is asking people if it's okay with you. When you ask someone politely, is it okay with you if I get
Hmm.
back to you? Right? Here's my
Yeah.
email or have your email address, right? And make sure you follow up. When you ask politely, 9 out of
Yeah.
10 people will say, yes, that's fine. You'll have maybe one
That's
person
awesome.
that might be
That's
like, no, but
Yeah.
so that's all you need to do. Be honest.
That's great. Yeah, I've been to some pitch competitions as a on the judging side, and I notice sometimes when it's a technical question, people will go into the very with a very long answer that is too technical. And I can tell you that a lot of investors, they don't like the technicalities. Do your language at a seventh or an eighth grade level that your grandma can understand. Again,
Yes.
if you are with the technical person as an investor, yes, you can, but keep it short because they listen to so many pitches at any given time, and you're losing the opportunity to get in more questions. The more questions you answer, the more engagement you're going to get. So don't miss the opportunity of giving super long answers that
Yes.
you may not get to as many questions.
And simplicity is really key at the end of the day. Simplicity
Exactly.
in your presentation slides, simplicity in the
Hmm.
words that you use. Just because, like, look at all the big corporations right now, the ones that are doing amazing, like Apple. Everything that
Simple.
they do,
It
clean,
is
minimal,
simplicity.
simple, right?
Exactly.
So that's why
Exactly.
they're doing
Yes.
so well. People
And actually, it takes
respond better.
more effort to simplify things.
It
So,
does.
and it's an art when you look at it it's an art to deliver the story that is compelling, that will keep you engaged in a simple language. And a lot of authors that we know that are renowned authors, when you look into their writing, it's at seventh or eighth grade level. They're
Hmm.
best-selling authors. So
Yes.
simplicity is the way to go. Try not to get too much into the technical words. That's how you lose your audience.
Have you
Let's
ever read the book, Nadia,
which would
Atomic Habits by
Oh, I
James
read it twice this
Clear?
year.
Right?
It's awesome.
I I've always wondered, I'm like, what makes this book so like why does everybody love this book? And a lot of the time, sometimes I have a hard time getting through the book when it's like too technical and everything. But
Yeah,
the beauty of
it's
that book
simple
also, it's so simple and
and
easy to
actionable too.
understand.
It gives you
Exactly.
things that you can do in 2 to 5 minutes. And that's the
Yes.
key, is
It's
having
very
small
clear.
wins.
This is how you do it. Very, very clear. Right. And that's why it's
Exactly.
a bestseller. That's why it's like one of
Yeah.
the books that everybody loves. It's the
I read it
simplicity.
twice.
Yeah. I
So,
have the
and then,
audiobook and the actual physical
yeah,
copy. I've read the book,
that's
and whenever I have time, I listen to the audio
yeah,
version of it.
it's an awesome book. So it's Atomic Habit by James Clear. And if the audience wants to check it out, it's an awesome book if you are to establish new habits or remove bad ones, like get rid of the not so good ones, not bad ones.
Yes,
So let's say
exactly.
you know the answer to the question you anticipated. Is there any structure how to do it in, let's say, less than 1 minute?
Yes. I actually have a structure that I kind of talked about it a little bit today too. So
Mm-hmm.
anytime you get asked a question, that's impromptu speaking if you're not prepared for the answer,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the first thing you want to do is, again, remember what I talked about: intro, point one, two, three, and outro. So during the intro, what you're really doing is, the first thing you should do is repeat the question.
Yeah.
Okay, because when you repeat the question, it gives you that extra
Mm-hmm.
little bit of time to think
Yeah.
of a better answer and make sure you got the question right. Okay.
Yeah.
Then you're going to get into the first reason why I think this is. And do not wait to answer the question. Get right
Yeah.
into it. When someone asks you a question, get right into it. And then you
Yeah.
can add in stuff later, examples, stories, or whatnot, depending on how much time you have. So get into
Mm-hmm.
the first reason, go ahead and explain that. Your second reason, go ahead and explain that. Your third reason, remember, threes, do everything in threes. It's
Yeah.
a rhythm, right? People understand things better in threes.
Mm-hmm.
Do your 3 points, and then you get into your outro. This is your time now to really leave that impact. So do not take your
Yeah.
outro lightly. This is when you can summarize some of the points, or you can thank your audience for that question, or
Yeah.
you can bring it back to them and ask them, what do they think? Because you
Exactly,
want your
because it's a two-way street. That's their chance to give you feedback too. And they've
exactly.
been seeing these pitches and technologies and what have you. So don't miss the opportunity, even if you don't get funding, to ask them for feedback. And through the questions is a great opportunity to get feedback from them too.
Yes. And something that most of us don't do is we don't record our presentations, whether it's live, and I mean by live as in
Yeah.
physically or online.
Mm-hmm.
Record it and watch
Yeah.
it, because it's going to tell you a lot of the things that you did that went great,
Exactly.
things that
Mm-hmm.
didn't go so well. And you're like, oh, why did I say that? I want to make sure I don't say that again. Or this would have
Yeah.
been a great time for me to add this in. Go back and watch your presentations. It's going
Yeah.
to help you understand how you perform, right? Because
Yeah.
it's
What
almost
I do,
like
like especially when I was working on my public speaking, is when I record something, I listen to it with no body, like just the audio part. Then I turn off the audio and just watch the body language. And you learn so much from, because even when you don't speak, your body tells a story too. The way how you use your gestures, the way how you do your eye contact. In terms of the audio part, how you kind of change that tone. Maria mentioned that monotony, it's going to be make your audience sleepy. So you gotta know when to kind of raise your pitch or lower your voice, or and that base, and you get feedback live from your audience. So have good eye contact. A lot of people, they're stuck to their screen, or they're so nervous that they cannot even move their body freely. And people will sense that, because your energy should match, would be up there to show enthusiasm, that to show that you love what you're doing. And people would sense that.
yeah,
So
people read your body language first. It's first your body language, then it's your tonality, and then people listen to the actual words that you're saying, which tells us you
exactly,
have to bring in your body language because that's what they're going
exactly.
to do first.
Hmm. That is awesome. So yeah, we've tapped into the questions, and how, if you don't know, don't pretend that you are a know-it-all. So Maria, if is there any other tips that presenters should be, aware of when they are giving a big talk, besides
Yes,
what we've already covered?
yes. And it's interesting because someone just said Lokesh said, Nadia, you look more natural now. You look like a more natural speaker. And I agree. And I want to point that out because that's how you should be. You should be natural when you're speaking.
Yeah,
Because a lot of the times, what I see is when you have a presentation, you think you have to be so professional and you think you have to
exactly.
be so well spoken that it almost sounds robotic or it sounds scripted, right? If you're going to
Exactly.
sound like a
Yeah,
robot, if you sound scripted, that trust factor will be very hard to kind of
to
build with your
implement.
audience.
Yeah.
So you need to sound natural. You need to sound like yourself, which
Mm-hmm.
means look at yourself like how do you speak to your family and friends, right? It's just going to be a more
Exactly.
polished version of that. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to sound natural for people to be like, okay, this person is telling the truth, or okay, I understand what
Mm-hmm.
this person is saying and I want to listen more, right? So
Exactly. Yeah, so
stay away
speak as
from
if
trying
you're speaking to a
to,
close friend, which is the
yes,
case here. So you're making it easy.
yes. Yeah, and it's easy, right? When you talk to a friend, it's so easy versus you
Mm-hmm.
knowing, oh my God, this is like C-level executives, or these are going to be people that might invest in my company. Con- Automatically, you're like, oh no, right? And you think you have to be so much
Yeah,
like
I'm going to
different.
share with the audience an anecdote that happened to me a couple months ago. So I
Sure.
was at the beginning of the program with Maria, and I organized an AI conference, an artificial intelligence conference, and it had like for Algeria, and it had very high level people, like the equivalent of the NIH director, head
Oh
of
wow.
institutes, like lab heads from across the globe. So I did the introduction. I was very at ease. And at some point, I realized, oh my God, I'm in this table with these big names, although it's online. And I froze for like 10 seconds. So
Oh.
don't think about how big the room is. If you are at the table, because you belong to that table, you have something to bring to that table, and don't let anybody, not even yourself, be your own block. So try to remove that. Think that you're talking to a friend. A tip that again Maria shared with me that I implemented after that, and it helps a lot. If you're nervous and it's online, open a different window so you don't see yourself. Because sometimes when you're looking at yourself and there is a little mistake and you get hung up on that mistake, and then it kind of snowball down the hill. So don't do that. Just be natural. And if you are at a table, it's because you belong. So own it.
Yes. Just to add to that, one more thing, Nadia, that people don't understand. Like, you are the one that needs to believe in yourself, right?
Yeah.
Forget what anyone else thinks. You might have people that encourage you, which is great. You might have people that
Hmm.
are like, what is this person doing here, right? Which is not so great. But
Yeah.
you should be so confident in yourself and here that nothing in the external world can affect how you feel,
Would affect the
right?
inside. Yeah. Hmm.
Yes, even if you're
Exactly.
not good at public
Yeah.
speaking, even if you're not 100% sure how to do things, still show
Hmm.
up with the confidence that if you don't know, you will figure it out, right? That is
Exactly.
confidence.
That
That
is
is confidence.
confident, and accepting that learning as a learning opportunity rather than a roadblock is a huge mind shift, especially for people moving from a 9 to 5 or from the corporate world into entrepreneurship. You're going to experience a lot of downs. So
Yes,
think of those downs as building blocks for your road towards your goal.
exactly. Exactly.
And yeah, you mentioned like the confidence part. So in trying to help women entrepreneurs, I thought, okay, what would be the most helpful to them? And then, so I did a poll on LinkedIn. What would be
Okay.
of value to you to help you out? And 50% of responders, they mentioned something to deal with imposter syndrome. How do you overcome that self-sabotage saboteur inside of you? So I did create a free PDF with actionable steps, 8 strategies that women entrepreneurs can use.
Oh,
And whenever
awesome.
I create anything, I keep the busy woman entrepreneur in mind, that it needs to be actionable. It's 8 strategies, each one keeping the structure that Maria mentioned in mind. Each one has 3 actionable steps that you can implement in 5 to 10 minutes. You can pick and choose, print it out. It's a 2 page document, not 30 page, PDF that you can have at your desk. and write down which one resonates with you the most. So whenever
Yes.
those insecurities or doubt starts to creep in, first you will realize to recognize the signs and have a game plan to stop it before it takes hold of you. So I
Absolutely.
hope, yeah, you
That.
can, yeah, I'll put it in the chat and in the page Women Entrepreneurs in Healthcare, and feel free to download it, and I hope it will help you out.
I think that would be very, very helpful. Thanks for creating that, Nadia. But Nadia,
Yeah,
I do think we should
absolutely.
take some questions. I see a lot of people are
Absolutely.
asking
Let's do
questions.
that. Let's do a rapid fire questions.
Yes. So I think there's one here from Hiba. She's asking Maria and Nadia, how can an extrovert balance the too much friendly and professionalism? So do you mean an extrovert if an extrovert is too friendly? I think I'm going to answer a little bit what I think, and then Nadia, you can chime in as
Sure.
well. But
Mm-hmm.
for me, like what I see is that extroverts have that natural shine to them, right? They have that natural confidence and they
Yeah.
let it out all the time, right? So I think for an extrovert, what you need to do in order to still be professional, still be friendly, I think
Yeah.
something extroverts need to keep in mind is to also let other people speak, give them the opportunity, because
Yeah.
sometimes it's very scary for introverts to try to get in and say something, right? So maybe just once you're done
Bring them
speaking,
in.
sit
Yeah.
back, give other people the opportunity to chime in as well, right? And that will keep you
Or
friendly
ask
and
them,
you'll
like,
still be
in your
professional.
outro, if you're a natural speaker, ask them at the in the outro. So what do you what so and so? What do you think of this? This way, it kind of brings them into the conversation. And my take on that would be sometimes when extroverts um, they get their energy from talking to other people, and vice versa for introverts, is having boundaries, because this way you can kind of protect your time that is either me time or work time or what have you, because people are so used to extrovert being so friendly and outspoken that they may confuse the two. This way it will help you be more productive, and it will, even in terms of mental health, and prevent burnout.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right,
I
any
agree with
other
that.
questions here? Let's see.
So someone, I've seen this a few times, so maybe you can ask or answer this one, Nadia. So
Sure.
someone is asking, how can we how can we get to the actual part where you raise funds for your business? Any tips on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, depending on what stage you're at during your company, so if it's pre-seed stage, meaning that you don't have a product or revenue, that is like you've proven the product market fit, going through the non-dilutive financing or bootstrapping early on is the way to go. If it is a high growth potential technology, and you have even validated through talking to your customers or stakeholders, that could be data you can approach angel investors in the field they specialize in your field, and pitch it to them. Even if you don't get money in the first round or a few rounds, you're gaining feedback. And that's where the questions part is so important. It's not a one-way street. The goal is not just to raise money, but to gain feedback that you can improve. So we go back to that building block. It's that failure, it's not failure, it's a learning opportunity that will make you better as you go along. So a combination of non-dilutive and dilutive, depending on what stage you're at for your company growth.
Great, perfect. And for anyone that has more questions about funding and businesses, especially women
Yeah,
entrepreneurs, do connect with Nadia. Nadia is an excellent source,
absolutely.
someone that can really help you with this. So do connect with her. I love that she goes live all the time and she puts out a lot of great information out there for you. There's one more question that I think we can
Sure.
answer before we go. So this question is from Amy, and she's asking, how do you find a mentor in a self-centered world? I'm also giving others advice, but I need my own encouragement. So the reason why I want to answer
Absolutely.
this is, and that, sorry,
Absolutely.
go
Yeah,
ahead.
actually, you hit the nail on its head, Amy, because one of the three things that women need to succeed as entrepreneurs is access to mentorships, access to role models, and on top of funding. So, the access to mentorship is through building specific networks. And this is exactly why I experienced myself, despite being in an ecosystem that is innovative, that is entrepreneurial, but I had to make the extra effort to network. And this is why I'm creating the community for women entrepreneurs in healthcare so we can support each other, that you gain access to other like minded women that are at different chapters through their journey. So you can learn from each other, support each other, as well as like once you are and then grow, because the skill set that you need early in your journey, you need to be proactive to prepare yourself to be successful 3, 4, 5 years from now. So that growth mindset is key, and networking. So please feel free to join our group that was created very recently on LinkedIn. It's called Women Entrepreneurs in Healthcare Technologies.
Yes. And I just wanted to add to that, Nadia, because I speak from firsthand experience that after I got a mentor, everything in my business changed. And I will admit, it took me some time to find the right one, right? Sometimes you have to find the right mentor for
Exactly.
you because everyone is different, everyone works different. And I've worked with some people in the past where I wasn't really seeing any results. It's because they were expecting me to do things that I wasn't comfortable with or
Mhm.
things that didn't really align with
With your
my thoughts
values.
and
Yeah.
ideas and my values exactly. So when I
Hmm.
found the person, a mentor, that their ideas and their way of thinking, even though
Yeah.
they still pushed me, I still had to do things I was very uncomfortable with. But once I
Hmm.
found the right person, it
Yeah.
skyrocketed my business, like
That is
to a point
awesome.
where I'm still shocked, like, oh my god, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and be open. The other thing I would add to that, you may not need just one mentor because there is, depending on what stage you're at. So, for example, if you are early on, you may need somebody that has sales and lead generation. And that's the number one reason that a lot of startups and technical founders struggle with. I've been to the Y Combinator summer school for founders, and in
Mhm.
the opening ceremony, the number one reason why, despite great technology, big market growth, and so on, is the ability to get those B2B sales early on to get the traction. So be open to tap into somebody else's experience. Yes, you pay for it, but you're going to save so much time and money in the long run. And time is the most precious thing. So I'm
Yes.
very pro coaching. You don't need to recreate the wheel, especially if you are a solopreneur, an entrepreneur in early stages. I'm at that stage too, the hustling stage, I call it. I think there are 5 stages for entrepreneurship. There's the dreamer, they dream of impact and so on. There's the hustlers, they do it all. And then there is the experimenter. Then there is the influence, the systemizer, which means they put systems in place for automation. And later, and that's the ultimate goal, is to become the influencer in your own business. Meaning you move from being inside your business, running everything, to pulling yourself out and lead others to, and you have the time to have big vision, the project where things are. So the ultimate goal is to remove yourself gradually from your business, and don't be afraid to, if you need sales and marketing, get somebody who's a coach in sales and marketing. If you need somebody who's very good in fundraising, get a coach who does only that. And again,
Exactly.
one thing, yeah, one thing that one of our great professors, when I was doing my executive MBA, said, and that really stuck with me in strategy, and he's a really renowned author in the field. Make sure your values align with whoever you work with. They may
Mhm.
give you money, but it's not just the money. You need to align values because they're going to be on your books for a long time. In case, in the case of investors or even for coaches, you're going to have to work really closely and be pushed out of your comfort zone continuously to grow. So make sure that you have aligned values with whoever you work with.
Absolutely. I agree.
And
I
with
agree with
that,
you
yeah, we're going to close. Any closing remarks, Maria?
Well, if first of all, if you're someone that is looking to get better at, your business, you're an entrepreneur, you're a woman, and we have someone right here, Nadia, that helps people with just that. She has a group together. So do connect with her, follow her, and get that information from her so you can be part of that community.
And
And
if you
lastly,
need any help with public speaking, and trust me, I'm a researcher. I do my research before I make any choice. Thorough research, and I picked Maria to be my public speaking coach, and I've seen firsthand the transformation. You can go back to my lives from 2 months ago or 3 months ago, and you can see the difference between the two. So
yeah,
get
I
in touch with
love that you're
Maria.
so much more confident now, Nadia, and you're so much more relaxed. And I'm glad
Thank
that
you.
everyone gets to see the real you now when you're
That's
live.
awesome.
So
Yeah,
I
so
am
reach out to Maria
Yes, well,
for
I am
public
hosting
speaking.
a live masterclass very soon. If you are interested, you just go to www.speakatwork.com, or you can check that out on my profile as well. So I have the link for you to register. It's going to be a full hour of just teaching you public speaking, especially in the workplace.
That is awesome. And if you are a healthcare tech company, a woman founder, or entrepreneur, please come and join us in our group on LinkedIn, Women Entrepreneurs in Healthcare Tech. If you need help moving your technology to the market or expanding your existing one to a different market so you can impact even more people, you can book a free session, 30-minute session with me. Go to my profile to do that. And with that, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us
Yes,
live. Or thank you if you're watching this on the recorded session. Feel free to leave us any questions or comments in the comment section. We'll go back and answer as many as we can. And
absolutely. It was great, Nadia. Thank you so much for having me. We should definitely do this again.
sure, absolutely. Thank you, Maria, for the tips, for the tricks, and yeah, for empowering people to speak up and be more confident.
Absolutely.
And yeah,
I
and
love
with that, yeah, and with that, thank you all and have a blessed Wednesday. Bye.
Bye, everyone.